One of the biggest pieces of discussion following the Florida-Georgia Speed Weeks is where would Ricky Thornton Jr. go? Would he go to the World of Outlaws, or would he choose to defend his championship with the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series? Obviously, Thornton chose to defend his championship, but we are finding out exactly why he chose to go with Lucas Oil over the World of Outlaws. I wrote this up over at stockcarreport.com. You can find the link in the description below. Thornton announced that he would be going to defend his championship over on Facebook. He said the Kohler Motorsports boys are in the truck headed to Atomic Speedway and Brownstown Speedway for the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series races this weekend to try and defend our 2024 championship. After arriving at Atomic yesterday, Thornton spoke with Flow Racing's Kyle McFadden about why he chose to go with Lucas Oil over the Outlaws. First, he shared how tough the decision was, saying, "We were leaning both ways and we're weighing out the options. Both pay really well. Both have big races. The hard part for me is figuring out what's going to be the best later in the year and stuff like that. It was a decision we made this week. We were up in the air." Now, obviously, Thornton was in third place heading into this weekend with both series. I think he was 15 points behind Jonathan Davenport with Lucas Oil. I think he was like 42 points around there behind Bobby Pierce with the World of Outlaws. So obviously it was a very, very tough decision given the fact that he was in the same spot in both series and could have kind of gone either way. But as for what influenced his decision, Thornton shared it came down to an inexperienced crew and having to rely on his Lucas Oil notebook that he's built up over the past couple of years. McFadden reported that Thornton lost his crew chief, Nathan Sletto, following the Georgia-Florida Speed Weeks, who returned to his home in Minnesota. Thornton's currently operating without a crew chief, but does have assistance from mechanic Zach Fields and tire specialist Skylar Cooper. He is receiving support this weekend from Seth Hunter, a 20-year-old who is a University of Northwestern Ohio student. And Thornton explained, a lot of it comes down to not having the guys who have been on the road enough and knows all these racetracks and stuff like that. For me, being the driver, crew chief setup role, this makes more sense to stay Lucas. I've been to a lot of these places I struggle at, but there's a lot of places I'm good at. Figured it'd be the best route for us right now. You never know. At some point in the future, we might do something different. As of now, we're 15 points out of the point lead. We're not far out at all. Heck, I was talking with someone, and any of the top four win tonight, they're the point leader. Well, so that is his explanation as for why he chose Lucas Oil over the World of Outlaws, pointing to the inexperience of his crew, obviously losing his crew chief after the Florida-Georgia Speed Weeks, and going to have to rely on his notebook as he is not only acting as the driver, but he is now acting as the crew chief as well as the setup man. So that does indeed make sense. Much more familiar with the tracks that Lucas Oil follows over the World of Outlaws, given the fact that he's been racing with Lucas Oil over the last couple of years. So that is his explanation. As for the fact that anyone could become the point leader if they won out of the top four, well, he did indeed win. He took home the win. It was a very exciting 50-lap feature at Atomic where Thornton fended off a hard-charging Josh Rice towards the second half of the race. Did some excellent maneuvering through lap traffic, was just weaving through that lap traffic, which Rice struggled with a little bit, was able to kind of get his way through it. In some cases, once Thornton got through the lap traffic kind of went to the bottom and allowed Rice to just kind of zip through past them. Didn't really have to challenge them as much. But he was able to hold Rice off there towards the end, despite Thornton even admitting that he thought that Rice's car was a little better, and that is what the eye test was showing, but Thornton was able to hold him off. Was a really good duel there at the end. Thornton was also blessed a little bit by Lady Fortune because Jonathan Davenport, who might have had the best car all night, became victim of a lap car, made contact with a lap car while trying to get through the traffic there. And Davenport was running second. He spun out, caution came out, and he was sent to the rear of the field. He then worked his way all the way through the back of the pack to salvage a 10th place finish. I think he was able to do that in 40 laps. So whale of a run there by Jonathan Davenport to salvage that 10th place finish. That's probably the biggest critique I have of the Lucas Oil. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more double boxing because it wasn't just Davenport working his way through the field. Brandon Shepard had to go to a backup car because he had an engine failure. He had to start at the rear of the field. He also worked his way up from the rear. I think he ended up finishing in like 12th or so, but he had also kind of worked his way up into the top 10 before the final restart, but obviously slipped back on that final restart. And I would have liked to have been able to see those guys kind of work through. I mean, obviously, they got really fast cars. They're coming from the back. That would have been something I would have liked to have seen as someone who enjoys just watching the whole race. So people who were at the track obviously got to see that. So with the win, though, Thornton now holds a 30-point lead over Devin Moran, who finished third, and a 55-point lead over Jonathan Davenport. Thornton and the rest of the Lucas Oil Series head to Brownstown tonight with coverage beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time over on Flow Racing. So that is what Ricky Thornton Jr. had to say. That was his explanation for why he chose Lucas Oil over the World of Outlaws. Let me know what you guys make of it. Let me know in the comments below.